The cafe copyright on Main Street was always busy in the mornings. Office workers grabbed their coffee, students sat with laptops, and a handful of locals lingered over breakfast. Among them was a woman who blended into the background almost too well. Her name was Claire. She worked part-time at the library, lived in a modest rented apartment, and never drew attention to herself. Most people saw only what was on the surface: her quietness, her faded jeans, the way she always wore long sleeves no matter the weather. But sometimes the fabric shifted, and the scars peeked through. On her left wrist, a jagged mark like melted wax. Along her neck, faint lines that could never quite be hidden by a scarf. When she reached for a mug at the counter, someone behind her snickered. "Yikes," a young man muttered to his friend. "Looks like she lost a fight with a blender." The group laughed, not bothering to lower their voices. Claire froze, her fingers tightening around the mug. The barista's eyes darted toward her with pity, but no one said anything. Claire lowered her head, took her tea, and walked to the corner table like she always did, quietly. Invisibly, the laughter lingered in the air even after the group left. Claire sipped her tea slowly, forcing her trembling hands to still. She had heard it all before: the whispers, the questions, the careless cruelty of strangers who thought scars defined the person carrying them. She kept to herself, never correcting anyone, never offering an explanation. The truth was too heavy, too far removed from the ordinary lives of people in this small town. But today, someone else had been watching. At the far end of the cafe copyright, a man sat alone with a cup of black coffee. His hair was gray at the temples, his posture straight even in a simple flannel shirt. His eyes, sharp and calculating, had lingered on Claire longer than she realized. When she rose to leave, he noticed the sleeve of her sweater right up. Not just scars this time, something inked beneath them, a tattoo. Not the flowery designs or whimsical symbols most people wore. No, this was precise. Stark black lines formed an emblem he hadn't seen in years, a dagger entwined with wings, a unit insignia used by a small, specialized task force, a unit so secretive that only those who had served in certain operations would even recognize it. The man's breath caught. He hadn't expected to see that mark here, on a quiet woman who carried herself like a shadow. Claire left the cafe copyright and stepped into the late morning sun. The streets bustled with people, but she moved like a ghost, unnoticed. "Excuse me," a voice called. She turned, startled. The man from the cafe copyright was walking toward her, his steps measured but urgent, his eyes fixed on her sleeve, where the tattoo had just barely been visible. "Yeah." He stopped a few feet away, lowering his voice. "That ink on your arm, where did you get it?" Her stomach clenched. She tugged her sleeve down quickly. "You must be mistaken." But his gaze didn't waver. "I served Iraq, 05, Task Force Dagger." That emblem, a broken bar, only a handful of people could wear it. "Who are you?" Claire's lips parted, but no words came out. Panic stirred inside her chest. Years of silence, of hiding, threatened to unravel. "You don't have to answer here," the man said softly, his tone shifting. "Name's Michael, Captain Michael Reyes, retired. If you wore that mark, a broken bar, then your family." Family. The word cut through her defenses like a blade. She shook her head quickly. "I'm nobody, just a librarian." Michael studied her face, the haunted look in her eyes. He knew that look. He had seen it in the mirror for years after coming home. "You're not nobody," he said firmly. "That tattoo, a broken bar, it's earned, not inked for decoration." "What happened?" Claire's throat tightened. She wanted to walk away, vanish like always. But Michael's gaze held no judgment, only recognition. And for the first time in years, she whispered, "Afghanistan. 2010. They sat on a bench by the river, away from curious ears. Claire kept her eyes on the water as she spoke, halting at first, then with growing clarity. "I was a medic, attached to Task Force Dagger. We weren't supposed to be there officially and not on paper, but we went where others couldn't. My job was to patch up the ones who got us through the fire." Her hands trembled, and she pressed them together to still them. "One night, we were ambushed in a village outside Kandahar. RPGs, small arms, everything. The Humvee I was in caught fire. I got 3 men out before the fuel tank blew." She touched her neck unconsciously, where the scars twisted her skin. That's when I got these. Michael swallowed hard. He remembered the reports, the missions whispered about but never acknowledged. They told me I'd saved lives, Claire continued, her voice bitter. But when I came home, no one cared. The scars made people stare. The nightmares made me quiet. I left it all behind. Easier to be invisible than to explain. She laughed softly, without humor. Now I'm just the weird woman with scars people whisper about in coffee shops. Michael leaned forward, his eyes fierce. Don't ever say just. You carried brothers out of fire. You earned that ink with blood. Anyone who laughs at your scars couldn't survive a single day of what you lived through. Her eyes burned, tears threatening. She looked away, but Michael wasn't done. Claire, you're not alone. We're still here, the ones who remember, and we don't forget our own. In the days that followed, something shifted. Michael introduced Claire to a small group of veterans who met weekly at the VFW hall. At first, she resisted, terrified of pity, of being exposed. But when she walked in, silence didn't greet her, recognition did. Medic Claire. One grizzled Marine barked, his eyes lighting up. Hell, I thought you were a ghost. You pulled me out of that hellhole in Kandahar, didn't you? Claire froze. She remembered his fascia bloodied, screaming, half-conscious as she dragged him from the wreckage. He clasped her scarred hands without hesitation, tears streaming down his face. From that moment, the dam inside her broke. The scars, once a mark of shame, became something else in that room. Proof, not of weakness, but of survival, of sacrifice. A week later, Claire walked back into the same cafe. Copyright. The same group of young men lounged near the counter, laughing too loudly. One of them noticed her, nudged his friend, and smirked. Here comes Scarface again. Claire stiffened, but before the words could cut her, another voice rose. Michael stood from a nearby table, his voice firm. Show some respect, kid. That woman's got more courage in her little finger than you'll ever muster. The cafe copyright quieted. Claire's heart pounded, but instead of fleeing, she stepped forward. Slowly, deliberately, she pulled her sleeve up. The tattoo glinted under the light, a dagger in wings, stark against scarred skin. The young men blinked in confusion. One of the older patrons, a retired army sergeant, gasped, "Holy hell, that's Task Force Dagger." Whispers spread through the cafe. Copyright. The mocking smiles vanished. The boys shifted uncomfortably, realizing too late who they had ridiculed. Claire met their eyes, her voice steady for the first time in years. These scars aren't shame, they're the reason people made it home. Remember that before you laugh at someone's story. The silence that followed was heavier than any laughter could be. It didn't happen overnight. The stares didn't stop, and not everyone understood. But something inside Claire had changed. She no longer wore sleeves to hide. She no longer shrank from the whispers. And every Thursday evening, she sat with her brothers and sisters at the VFW, swapping stories, laughing, remembering not as a ghost, but as part of a family. The scars remained, etched reminders of fire and sacrifice. But now, when she looked at them, she no longer saw shame. She saw survival. She saw proof that she had mattered, that she still mattered. And sometimes, at the cafe copyright on Main Street, someone new would notice the tattoo, freeze, and nod in silent respect, because those who knew, knew.